We want you to know.
A beautiful pregnant wife vanishes without a trace. Her husband goes on TV, begging for her return, tears in his eyes, voice shaking. The perfect grieving spouse, except it was all an act. Because while America prayed for his family's safe return, Chris Watts already knew where his wife and 2 little girls were. He knew because he'd loaded their lifeless bodies into his truck that morning. This isn't fiction. This is the bone-chilling true story that will haunt you forever. Before we continue, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. Because what you're about to hear, you'll want to discuss in the comments. This case changes how you see the people closest to you. Shannon Watts was 15 weeks pregnant when she came home that night. She expected to kiss her daughters goodnight. Instead, she walked into a nightmare. Hours later, her loving husband would strangle her in their bed, the same bed where they dreamed of their future. But it gets worse. Before killing Shannon, Chris had already smothered 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste. And what he did next? It defies all humanity. Doorbell footage shows what neighbors thought was just a dad loading his truck. But those weren't tools he was carrying. Those were his children's bodies. And here's the most terrifying part. While Shannon posted loving tributes to her husband, Chris was Googling how to dispose of a body and texting his mistress about their new life together. If this doesn't make you question everything, wait till you hear his confession. And when you do, I want to know, do you think the mistress knew? Comment below. But first, hit like if true crime stories like this keep you up at night. Let's get to 10,000 likes and I'll expose even darker secrets about this case in our next video. To understand how this horror unfolded, we need to rewind to what seemed like a perfect American family. Shannon and Chris Watts, young, attractive, living in a cozy Colorado suburb with their 2 beautiful daughters. On social media, they were #couple goals. Shannon's Facebook was filled with happy family photos, gushing captions about her amazing husband, and excited pregnancy updates about their 3rd child, baby Nico. But behind those picture-perfect posts, a marriage crumbling in the darkest ways possible. Chris worked as an oil technician while Shannon thrived in multi-level marketing. But their lavish lifestyle hid dangerous financial troubles, maxed-out credit cards, a house on the brink of foreclosure. Meanwhile, something more sinister was brewing. Chris had started an affair with a younger co-worker, Nicole Kessinger. Their texts reveal a man obsessed, sending her shirtless gym selfies, promising a future together, even taking her on romantic getaways while Shannon was pregnant. The most chilling part: the timing. Just weeks before the murders, Chris suddenly became the perfect dad, taking the girls to birthday parties alone, doing school drop-offs. Neighbors thought it was sweet. In reality, he was practicing life without Shannon. And while she documented their happy marriage online, Chris was secretly Googling when to say I love you to your mistress and how to know if your wife is cheating, projecting his own guilt onto his pregnant wife. The final red flag. Days before the murders, Chris told his mistress he was separated and the kids were with Shannon's parents. But security footage shows the exact opposite, a happy family returning home together. This wasn't just an affair. This was a man rewriting reality to justify what came next. August 13, 2018, the night reality split in two. While Shannon's flight home from a business trip was delayed, Chris was already setting the stage. He turned off the family's Ring camera. He silenced his phone. And as his pregnant wife finally walked through the door around 2 a.m., exhausted and carrying their unborn son Nico, he made his move. What happened next comes straight from Chris's own confession. He attacked Shannon in their bed, squeezing the life from her as she fought back. But here's what he didn't admit initially: before she even came home, he'd already killed their daughters. 4-year-old Bella woke up during the attack on her mother. Crime scene photos show tiny finger marks on her sheets. This little girl fought desperately as her own father smothered her. 3-year-old Celeste never even had a chance. Then came the unthinkable. Chris loaded all 3 bodies into his work truck like garbage. Security footage shows him struggling with the weight, pausing to adjust Shanann's lifeless limbs. At 5:15 a.m., he drove to his work site, dumping Shanann's body in a shallow grave. But the girls. He did something even more monstrous. Using the hatch of an oil battery tank, he squeezed their small bodies through an 8-inch opening into crude oil below, a detail so horrific, investigators actually vomited at the scene. By sunrise, Chris was texting his mistress about their future. By afternoon, he was on TV begging for his family's return. And all the while, his daughters' bodies were slowly decomposing in oil tanks just miles away, the final, cruelest betrayal from a man who'd once called them his whole world. The moment detectives sat down with Chris Watts, they knew something was off. His eyes darted around the room like a trapped animal. His answers were too rehearsed. And when they asked about his daughters, he referred to them in the past tense, a chilling slip that made investigators' blood run cold. At first, Chris stuck to his story. Shanann had taken the girls to a friend's house. But when police confronted him with the neighbor's doorbell footage showing him loading his truck alone that morning, his mask began to crack. Detectives played their master card. They had him take a polygraph test. Within minutes, the machine confirmed what everyone suspected. Chris Watts was lying through his teeth. What happened next was like watching a house of cards collapse. Chris changed his story 3 times in rapid succession, first claiming Shanann killed the girls in a rage, then saying he accidentally strangled her during an argument, before finally spilling the horrific truth. The interrogation video shows the exact moment he breaks, slumping forward in his chair, his voice dropping to a whisper as he admits, "I hurt them all." But the most disturbing detail? How calmly he described disposing of his family. No tears. No hesitation. Just cold, clinical details about oil tanks and grave sites, like he was recounting a work project, not the murder of his pregnant wife and babies. When detectives asked why he did it, his answer would haunt America forever. "I just wanted to be free." Within 48 hours of that confession, the man who played the grieving husband on national TV was led away in handcuffs, his final performance over, his monstrous true self finally exposed to the world. So why did he do it? The answer lies in 2 words: Nicole Kessinger. Chris's mistress wasn't just some fling, she represented a clean slate. A life without debt, without responsibilities, without a pregnant wife and 2 little girls cramping his style. Texts reveal Chris had promised Nicole a future together, even calculating how much child support he'd owe. But here's the kicker: Nicole claims she had no idea he was still living with his family until just days before the murders. Though her suspicious Google searches, including "Can cops trace text messages" and "How long does it take to become a couple?" suggest she wasn't as innocent as she claimed, the financial motive was just as damning. The Watts were drowning in $70,000 of debt from their McMansion lifestyle. Chris's salary couldn't cover the mortgage, Shanann's MLM business was failing, and foreclosure loomed. Killing his family meant no more child support, no alimony, just a fresh start with his new girlfriend. But this coward didn't have the guts to file for divorce. Murder was his shortcut to freedom. At sentencing, Shanann's family unleashed their rage. Her father screamed at Chris, "I hope you find peace in hell." The judge gave him 5 life sentences with no parole, 1 for each life he took, including unborn Nico. Today, Chris rots in a Wisconsin prison, where inmates have reportedly attacked him multiple times. Meanwhile, Nicole changed her name and vanished. But the real tragedy: Bella, Celeste, and Shanann never got to grow old. Their graves sit side by side in North Carolina, a permanent reminder that the person you trust most could be the one who destroys you. So what do you think? Was this about the affair? The money? Or was Chris what's always a monster hiding in plain sight? Sound off in the comments, and if this case shocked you, wait until you hear about our next family annihilator. Even after Chris Watts confessed, this case leaves us with terrifying questions that keep true crime fans awake at night. First, did Nicole Kessinger know more than she admitted? Her deleted texts and suspicious Google searches right before the murder suggest she might have suspected something dark was coming. Why was she researching Amber Fry, the mistress in the Scott Peterson case, just days before Shanann's murder? Second, how long was Chris planning this? His sudden, perfect dad act in the weeks before the killings looks chilling in hindsight. Was he practicing single parenthood or something far worse? And those financial searches about life insurance payouts, were they just coincidence? Most haunting of all, what really happened that night? Chris changed his story multiple times. The evidence suggests Bella fought back hard, but how much did those poor girls understand in their final moments? And why choose such a grotesque method to dispose of their bodies? The oil tanks weren't just practical, they felt personal, like he wanted to erase them completely. Here's what we do know: monsters don't have fangs. They have wedding rings and dad bods and Facebook posts about date nights. They look like Chris Watts, the guy next door who coaches t-ball and brings cookies to block parties. That's why this case sticks with us. Because if it could happen to Shanann, smart, loving, with her whole life ahead of her, it could happen to anyone. So I'll ask you, do you think we'll ever get the full truth? Or are some parts of this nightmare better left buried? Let me know in the comments, and if you're still as obsessed with this case as I am, check out our deep dive on the Watts family finances. The receipts will shock you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because the darkest true crime stories are the ones that could happen to any of us.